Okay, so get this. South Korea,
Mm-hmm.
a democracy we usually think of as pretty stable,
Right.
suddenly finds itself under martial law.
Yeah.
The president just declares it,
Wow.
citing threats from North Korea
Okay.
and these like shadowy anti-state forces.
Hmm?
We're talking a whole country thrown into crisis like that.
Yeah, just like that.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
All thanks to some live reports coming in from BBC News.
It really makes you think about, like, how solid any democracy really is,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
You have President Yoon Suk Yeol, who's been struggling politically,
Yeah.
and suddenly, boom, this drastic move that has the whole world on edge.
It sounds like a movie or something.
I know, right?
But this is real life for South Koreans.
Gably.
And the consequences are definitely not fictional.
Nope.
So let's unpack this.
Okay.
What could have possibly driven Yoon to declare martial law?
Well, the reports suggest a few things.
Okay.
First, you have to understand the political landscape in South Korea. It's a pretty heated two-party system.
Uh-huh.
And Yoon's party has been losing ground.
I see.
Combine that with low public support, a bunch of scandals, and a parliament that's been giving him a hard time.
Right.
It seems like he might have felt back into a corner.
So he's a lame duck president facing mounting pressure.
Exactly.
Makes sense that he might be desperate.
Yeah.
But is that enough to justify martial law?
Well,
Some analysts are even comparing this to the January 6th Capitol riot in the U.S.,
right.
suggesting Yoon might have been trying to pull a similar power grab.
It's a chilling comparison, isn't it?
It is.
And it raises some serious concerns about whether Yoon was trying to circumvent democratic processes to cling to power.
Right?
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The South Korean parliament didn't just sit back and let it happen.
Yeah.
They fought back hard.
Yeah, I read about those members of parliament breaking through barricades
Oh, yeah?
and climbing fences just to get into the National Assembly building to vote against martial law.
It's crazy.
Talk about commitment to their job.
It's a scene you wouldn't expect in a modern democracy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a powerful reminder of how vital checks and balances are.
Sure.
And the vote wasn't even close.
Really?
It was a complete shutdown of Yoon's attempt to impose military rule.
So the parliament steps up and flexes its democratic muscles.
Totally.
But what about the people of South Korea?
Yeah.
How did they react to this whole martial law situation?
Well, they definitely weren't sitting on the sidelines.
Okay.
Imagine this huge crowds gather outside the National Assembly.
Mm-hmm.
People are on edge.
Yeah.
And then the news breaks that martial law has been overturned.
Wow.
The eruption of relief and celebration is something else.
I bet.
This wasn't just a political chess match for them.
Right.
It was about the future of their country.
Wow. Talk about people power.
I know, right?
It really shows you the impact of citizens raising their voices and holding their leaders accountable.
For sure.
But this whole thing wasn't just confined to South Korea, was it?
No, not at all.
Word got out pretty fast,
Wow.
and the international community started reacting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was like watching a domino effect.
Okay.
First, you have the U.S.,
Yes.
South Korea's biggest ally,
Yeah.
getting caught completely off guard by the news.
Oh, wow.
They were scrambling to figure out what was going on.
I bet.
Then comes the wave of relief when martial law is reversed,
Okay.
but also this underlying tension.
Hmm.
They even issued a statement reminding everyone that democracy is at the heart of the U.S.-South Korea alliance.
And then you have the UK government expressing deep concern
Right.
and calling for a peaceful resolution.
Yeah.
You can bet the whole world is now watching South Korea very closely.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
The global reaction really underscores how significant South Korea is on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
Any instability there has the potential to send ripples throughout the region and beyond.
Right.
But of all the international players, there's one in particular who might be watching this whole situation with a very keen and potentially dangerous interest.
You're talking about North Korea, right?
Yep.
That can't be good.
No.
One expert even said they must be licking their chops at the instability.
It's a chilling thought, isn't it?
It is.
Imagine Kim Jong-un,
Right.
a leader known for his unpredictable behavior,
Yeah.
sees his neighbor in a state of political chaos.
Yeah.
It's like a feast laid out before him.
So not only do we have a president making questionable decisions, a parliament scrambling to maintain order,
Right?
and a public demanding answers,
Yeah.
but now we have to worry about what North Korea might do.
It's a mess.
This situation is spiraling fast.
It really highlights how fragile things can be,
Yeah,
even in a seemingly stable democracy.
for sure.
But before we get ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's take a closer look at North Korea's potential moves.
Right.
What specific actions might Kim Jong-un take to exploit this situation?
Well, when you've got a leader like Kim Jong-un, unknown for his, let's say, bold moves,
Right.
the possibilities are pretty unsettling.
Yeah.
What could North Korea actually do to take advantage of this chaos in the South?
You're right to be worried.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be just empty threats either.
Right.
Think cyber attacks,
Oh, gosh.
targeting South Korean infrastructure,
Okay.
maybe trying to sow more discord.
Yeah.
Or imagine a sudden military exercise right on the border.
Oh, wow.
Classic move to rattle nerves and test the waters.
So they could basically turn up the heat.
Exactly.
Make everyone even more anxious while South Korea's trying to sort itself out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
And don't forget the propaganda machine.
Oh, right.
They could easily spin this whole martial law incident as proof that South Korean democracy is failing. Try to sway international opinion.
I see.
Maybe even stir up pro-North sentiment within the South itself.
That's some seriously Machiavellian stuff.
It is.
So South Korea's caught between a rock and a hard place,
Yeah.
dealing with their own political mess, while this threat from the North looms large.
It's a high-stakes game of chess.
For sure.
And the stakes just got higher.
Definitely.
But let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
And go back to President Yoon.
Right.
After that martial law debacle.
Right.
His political future is hanging by a thread, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I can't imagine he's winning any popularity contests right now.
No.
There are calls for him to resign, even whispers of impeachment.
Yeah.
Is that actually on the table?
It's more than just whispers at this point.
Oh, really?
According to our reports, a group of lawmakers is already drafting an impeachment bill.
Wow.
They're not messing around.
So they're serious.
And the mood among other MPs.
Yeah.
Let's just say they're not impressed with Yoon's judgment.
So it's not just the public that's angry.
Nope.
His own colleagues are turning against him.
Yeah.
That's got to sting.
Yep.
It makes you realize that even in a democracy with strong institutions, one person's actions can have a huge ripple effect.
For sure. It's a stark reminder that leadership matters.
Yeah.
And that even in a system designed to prevent abuses of power, there's always the potential for things to go wrong.
Right.
But let's not lose sight of the bigger picture here.
Okay.
This whole situation in South Korea.
Right.
It's not just about one president or one political crisis.
I see.
It's about something much bigger.
You're talking about democracy itself, aren't you?
Exactly.
It's almost like we got a glimpse of how fragile it can be.
Yeah.
How easily it could unravel if we're not careful.
We saw institutions holding strong.
Right.
People taken to the streets, a peaceful resolution.
Yeah.
But it was a close call.
It really was.
And it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
What does this say about the challenges democracies are facing all over the world?
Right.
Not just in South Korea.
Especially in a time when things feel so polarized.
Totally.
So uncertain. You know, it's like everyone's on edge. And any spark could set off a firestorm.
It feels that way.
So what can we do about it? How do we protect democracy?
Yeah.
Not just in South Korea, but everywhere.
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
And honestly, there's no easy answer.
Okay.
But I think it starts with each of us recognizing that democracy isn't a spectator sport. It's something we all have to actively participate in.
So not just voting every few years and then tuning out.
Right.
What else can people do?
Think about it this way.
Okay.
Democracy thrives on informed citizens who engage with the issues, hold their leaders accountable, and demand transparency.
Okay.
That means staying informed.
All right.
Asking tough questions.
Yeah.
Making your voice heard.
So get informed, speak up, don't be afraid to make some noise.
Exactly.
But what about the bigger picture?
Okay.
What about the global forces at play here?
This South Korean situation really highlights how interconnected everything is these days.
Yeah.
What happens in one country can have ripple effects across the globe.
Yeah.
So we need to be aware of what's going on.
Okay.
Not just in our own backyard,
Right.
but everywhere.
Because what impacts one democracy can impact us all.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It's like a chain reaction.
It is.
Okay.
And it brings us to another crucial point.
Yeah.
The importance of international cooperation. Democracies need to stand together, support each other, and work together to address the challenges we're all facing.
So it's not enough to just focus on like our own little corner of the world.
Right.
We need to be globally aware, engaged citizens, and like support other democracies.
Yeah.
It feels like the stakes have never been higher.
It's definitely a wake-up call.
Yeah.
And speaking of wake-up calls, let's bring it back to this specific situation with President Yoon.
Okay.
You mentioned impeachment earlier. Yep. What are the chances that actually happens?
Yeah. Is he really going to be kicked out of office?
No,
it's a pretty extreme outcome.
It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Remember, the South Korean National Assembly has impeached a president before.
Oh, right.
Back in 2017.
Yeah.
And in Yoon's case, there's a lot of anger and distrust right now.
I bet.
Both from the public and within his own party.
So even if he survives this whole martial law mess, his presidency is going to be seriously damaged.
There's no coming back from this unscathed.
Wow.
It's going to be a constant battle for him to regain any kind of authority or legitimacy.
All right.
And even if he manages to stay in office, the political landscape in South Korea is going to be fractured for a long time.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, we have.
From the shock of that martial law declaration to the parliament's resistance, the public outcry.
The international response.
And even the potential threat from North Korea. It's been quite a ride.
It really has.
Right.
But before we wrap up this deep dive,
I
want to leave you with something to think about.
All right.
We've talked about the fragility of democracy.
Right.
The importance of citizen action. And the global implications of this event.
It all seems so overwhelming, though.
I know.
Where do we even go from here?
Yeah.
What can we as individuals actually do to make a difference?
That's the key question, isn't it?
It is.
And while there's no magic bullet, there are things we can do.
Right.
It starts with recognizing that we're not powerless. We have a voice.
Yeah.
And we have a responsibility to use it.
So what, like writing to our representatives, going to protest, that kind of thing?
Those are definitely important actions.
Okay.
But it goes deeper than that.
Right.
It's about staying informed, engaging in thoughtful conversations, challenging misinformation, and promoting civil discourse.
So be informed, be engaged, and be vocal about the issues that matter to us.
Exactly.
But what about all the negativity and polarization out there?
Yeah.
It's hard to stay positive when everything feels so chaotic.
I understand that feeling. But I think that's all the more reason to hold on to hope. Remember what we saw in South Korea?
Yeah.
People from all walks of life coming together to defend their democracy.
Right.
That's powerful.
It is.
And it's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always a glimmer of light.
That's actually really inspiring.
Yeah.
So even though things might look bleak sometimes, there's always hope.
Yeah.
And there's always something we can do to make a difference.
Exactly. And that's what I want you to take away from this deep dive.
Okay.
Don't get bogged down by the negativity.
Right.
Stay informed. Stay engaged.
Yeah.
And stay hopeful.
Well said. On that note, we're wrapping up this episode of The Deep Dive.
Great.
We hope you found it insightful, maybe even a little bit empowering. Because at the end of the day, the future of democracy rests on all of us.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged.